Hello everyone, my name is Serafi and I'm happy to meet you all, and today we're playing Candy Live, the Omega Psychic type monster. Oh man, since Fusions came to the game, this is the card I've been waiting to see. I'm really happy to see it here, and the best part is you can play this deck without even trying to build it. There are new cards in the box that you could potentially go and farm for, but before you decide to do that, play the structure deck. And you can play it in PvP, and you can see if that's the cards that you want. So let's take a look at this deck, the skill, and see what we can do with it. The skill is called Infinite D Live. Can be activated from turn 2 onward if all of the monsters in your deck are psychics. Send one light or dark attribute monster with 100, 400, 1500, or 2200 attack from your deck to the graveyard. Or send one card from your hand to the graveyard, then add one Psychic Upper, Ice Pop Bear, or Fusion from your deck or graveyard to the hand. Each card only once per duel. So, we have Psychic Upper, Ice Pop Bear, and Fusion. Those are all cards that you can use to Fusion summon. And then as far as 100, 400, 1500, and 2200 attack points, 100 is the Candy Live. Yeah, 100 is Candy, 1500 is Peace Holder or Silent Assailant, 400 is Amalilith. And then 2200, I guess, is Prima Gitarna. Yeah. I don't know why you would want to put Prima Gitarna in your graveyard, but fair enough. So yeah, that is the idea of the skill. It basically allows you to send a card from your hand to the graveyard to get whatever you want, and as long as the card that you sent was Candy, you can potentially revive it with Star Restart, which does require you to put another card from your hand into the deck, so it's not necessarily plussing, but if the Fusion is in your graveyard, then it's kind of plussing. So yeah, it's a cool idea. It's a cool card. I like it. The skill is very good, and the deck is really fun to play. I played it on stream, and I had a blast, even though I lost most of my games, because I'm not used to this deck type. I played Psychics a lot when they first came out, and Psychics are really fun, but the new cards they fit together in a way that hasn't mapped out for me yet in my mind. Regardless, I think the deck is potentially pretty decent. The only problem with it is how expensive it is. Obviously, you need 3 copies of Candy. Candy is from an old box, and then you need 3 copies of Psychic Upper and probably 3 copies of Candy Live as well. So this is going to be the most expensive new deck, but the skill it makes up for it. So I think this will probably be fine. All right, for the deck we have Can Re-D. Can Re-D is a level 7 Psychic monster with 2500 attack and 1500 defense. Return one face-up monster with 500 or less attack from your field to the owner's hand. This turn, while this card is face-up, you cannot tribute summon monsters with 1500 or more defense points in attack position. So, Can Re-D allows you to repeat the effect of Roman Pick, so that you can Roman Pick more than once. That's useful for us because we only have 1 copy of Roman Pick. And Roman Pick is a really good card, don't get me wrong. But it's kind of weird that that's basically all this card is good for. It's a one of, in this deck. I would agree with that, probably. I don't think that this card needs to be played at more than 1. It's alright. Next up, we have Esperade the Smashing Superstar. This is a level 7 Dark Psychic monster with 2500 attack and 0 defense. If your life points are 1000 or lower, destroy up to 2 monsters on your opponent's field. That's ridiculous. That's insane. Even affecting this once is, good enough to usually win you the game. But this is a once per turn. This is a soft once per turn. You can do this every turn that Esperade remains on the field. So Esperade is literally the most win more card that's ever existed. If your opponent can't destroy Esperade, they just lose the game. So as long as you can keep Esperade on the board and you don't die, then Esperade will win you the game, whether it takes her 1 turn or 3 turns. So probably the strongest card, in terms of raw power that we have in Rush right now. But it's not as good as a card like Multi-Strike Dragon Dragius, which is why it's not limited. There are a lot of restrictions that affect Esperade, and Esperade is not that difficult to destroy either. But still, I live the dream. I love an idea. I like the idea of just building a deck completely around Esperade, but we don't have enough copies of Roman Pick to justify it yet. A one of is fine. This card is not a card that you're going to play more than one copy of at any point during the duel, and because it requires you to have 1,000 life points or less, it's not like you want to have it at the beginning of the game anyway. It's kind of a card that you can just draw into at some point, so yeah, it's good. Prima Gitarna, the Shining Superstar. You can't really trigger Esperade unless you have Prima Gitarna, because Prima Gitarna pays 1,000 life points every turn that she's on the board, which is a good way to actually get yourself down to 1,000. So yeah, this is completely fine. All face-up monsters on your field gain attack equal to the number of monsters on your opponent's field times 300 until the end of the turn. If you have 3 monsters at 2,700 attack points for 1,000 life points, completely fair deal, really good. I would play this card at 3 in most Psychic decks, but she's not part of the fusion strategy for this deck, so not necessary. Still a good card, though. Romanpic. Romanpic is a level 1 Psychic monster with 500 attack points and 0 defense points. If your life points are lower than your opponent's, pay 500 life points. Send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard. If a Psychic monster is among the cards sent, add 1 Psychic monster from your graveyard to your hand. So the main problem with Romanpic in this deck is that there aren't that many ways to actually lower your life points, which I was surprised by. Side Pickupper actually gives you life points. Ice Pop Bear does not pay life points, and then Candy, Peaceholder, Silent Assailant, and Amma Lilith are all normal monsters. So the only way that you can pay life points in this deck, other than with Romanpic herself, is with your 1 copy of Prima Gitarna, the Shining Superstar, which means that this deck is not properly set up, in my opinion. I think that the correct thing to do is to cut all 4 of these cards. I think that the optimal way to build this deck is to just remove every single one of these cards and play Spell and Trap removal, or like Watt Angel, or other like easy cards that you can tribute for. Maybe you could play like, I don't know. I don't really want to play Prima Gitarna in this deck, but maybe you just play 3 copies of Prima Gitarna, and then like, I mean, you could just keep Romanpic just because she's like slightly better than Watt Angel, but I mean, in realistic terms, you're like not using her for anything other than a sacrifice in that deck anyway. But yeah, like these 4 cards do not synergize with the rest of the deck at all, so these are the cards that you would cut to make this deck work. Now we get into the actual strategy. Side Pickupper. Level 6 Dark Psychic Monster, 1800 attack, 0 defense. During your main phase that you normal or special summon this card, send the top card of your deck to the graveyard. This card loses 800 attack points until the end of this turn, then you can gain 800 life points. That's really good. Gaining 800 life points will help you pay the cost of Candy Live, which is fantastic. So yeah, I like this card. 3 of is necessary. Ice Pop Bear, level 1 Psychic Monster, light, 600, 600. During the turn, you normal summon this card. Special summon 1 Candy or Amma Lilith from your graveyard to your field. This turn, you can only attack with Omega Psychic and or Psychic type monsters. Cool. We don't care about the restriction because we only play Psychic monsters. And Ice Pop Bear can fuse with both Candy and with Amma Lilith. So if you fuse it with Candy, you get Candy All. And if you fuse it with Amma Lilith, you get Amma Bear Lilith. So yes, Ice Pop Bear, fantastic card. It is limited to 3. This is probably like the other card that you would like. This is probably the other part of the deck that's not correct. I bet that what you want to do is you want to cut these 4 cards and put like 3 copies of Ice Pop Bear in the deck. Because I mean, you're going through the box 3 times anyway to get 3 copies of Side Pickupper. So yeah. 3 copies of Ice Pop Bear. That's going to be the best play to make your deck as consistent as possible. All right, 3 copies of Candy. Candy is a level 1 light psychic monster with 100 attack and 100 defense. Does not do anything, but she has several cards that support her. Really good. Peaceholder. Peaceholder is a level 4 light psychic monster with 1500 attack and 0 defense points. For some reason, this card is not a pop star, so. I don't know why this card has like different flavor than the rest of Roman's deck, but fair enough. Decent enough card. 1500 attack is what we want on a monster that we're not using for anything else. Silent Assailant, same thing except it's a dark monster. This card is also a rare card, so between the 2, you can easily get like 3 copies of both of these. They're not hard. Then we have Amma Lilith. Amma Lilith is a level 2 dark psychic monster with 400 attack and 400 defense, and she can be used as fusion material for Amma Bear Lilith. I believe Amma Lilith gets fused often. I feel like there's a fusion of Amma Lilith and Prima Gitarna the Shining Superstar, but I don't know that it's coming to Duel Links yet. So Amma Lilith is like if you want to play Omega Psychics, Amma Lilith is a card that you want 3 copies of, because there are other fusion targets besides just Amma Bear Lilith. This deck is using Tribute to the Doom. That's completely fine. Star Restart. Place 1 card from your hand on the bottom of your deck, special summon 1 level 5 or lower normal monster from your graveyard to your field. Then you can add 1 fusion from your graveyard to your hand. So you can either revive Candy or you can revive Amma Lilith. Both those cards are really good targets, and then you just get, your fusion back, and then you can fuse as much as you want. So Star Restart, definitely necessary to play at 3 in this deck. Fusion, of course, regular card. Next up, we have Jamp Check. Jamp Check is a super rare. It's a rare spell, but it's limit 2. Requirement: you have 2 face-up psychic monsters on your field, including at least 1 normal monster. Look at 2 face-down spell or trap cards on your opponent's field and destroy 1 of them. If you have Candy face-up on your field, you can also gain 1,000 life points. That's insane. Really, really good. It's better than just like the Omega, like the Galaxy Destroyer card or the Assault card for machines, because you get to look at 2 cards and pick 1 of them to destroy. So you know what you're going to be destroying. You have options. And then, of course, you also get to gain life points. It does require you to have 2 monsters on the field, which means that you are committing more to the board, which could potentially make it a drawback later when there are more trap cards that can react to a normal summon. But for right now, we don't have that many. Like, if you get Trap Hold, then you get Trap Hold. Who cares? So Jamp Check is just a good card. I think probably one of the better spell and trap removal cards in the game right now, and you should definitely play it at 2 in this deck. Rise Terror's Crisis. When your opponent special summons a monster from the hand or graveyard, change 2 face-up monsters on your opponent's field whose levels equal 12 or less to face-down defense position. This does not trigger when you special summon from the extra deck, which means that it's not that good. There aren't that many ways to special summon from the hand or the graveyard, and it doesn't affect maximum monsters, obviously. So I don't know yet. This card seems to have been released specifically to deal with the Secret Order deck. And that's fair because it's mostly intended for Zuijo, and Zuijo is already a hard counter to the Secret Order deck. But I don't feel like it's good enough, to be honest. And lastly, we have Widespread Ruin, which is when your opponent's monster declares attack, destroy 1 attack position monster with the highest attack on your opponent's field. This is good because it destroys both Cyber End Dragon and Ancient Eater Golem. Alright. Candy Live. This is a light Omega Psychic monster with 2800 attack, 2400 defense. It has a free silver border, which is awesome. Requires a fusion of Candy and Psy Pickupper. Remember that Psy Pickupper is a level 6, so you will have to tribute summon in order to use this card. If your opponent has a monster on the field as a multi-choice effect, you can either take 2,000 damage and then make all face-up monsters on your opponent's field lose 3,000 attack points till the end of this turn, or you can gain 1,000 life points, and then you can choose 1 level 7 or higher psychic monster in your graveyard and special summon it to your field. Now, this is, of course, why we are playing in the trial deck Canry D, Esperade, and Prima Gitarna, so that you have targets for this effect. But, I mean, it's not that good. Yes, you will definitely do this when we get the Prima Gitarna fusion, but since we don't have it yet, I would probably just cut all your level 7s, and you will use Candy Live's second effect when there's no face-up targets on your opponent's field. Like, if you fusion summon Candy Live and your opponent doesn't have any face-up monsters, okay, you gain 1,000 life points. Who cares? It's good enough, since it doesn't cost you anything. This is a great card. Being able to just nuke your opponent's entire board for 3,000. I mean, if you pay 2,000 life points and you make your opponent lose 9,000 attack points, that's good enough. Next up, we have Candy All. This is Candy and Ice Pop Bear. Requirement none. Special summon 1 level 6 or lower psychic monster from your graveyard to your field. Decent. You can bring back your Psy Pickupper. You can bring back Candy. You can bring back Amma Lilith, whatever you need, and then just fuse off again. So Candy All has 2,000 attack points, which is a decent amount. It's level 4, so it's not. It's a card that has a very high amount of attack points without being punished by level appropriate, like level specific effects. Like for example, Talismanic Seal Array. Like yes, you can easily beat over a 1200 attack point monster, but if they're wasting Talismanic Seal Array on a level 4, then that's good for you. So yeah, Candy All feels like it's a perfectly fine card. It's also a Psychic type instead of an Omega Psychic for relevance impact. And then lastly, we have Alma Bear Lilith. Alma Bear Lilith is a level 4 Psychic monster with 2000 attack and 1500 defense. Fusion of Alma Lilith and Ice Pot Bear. Effect, return one monster on your opponent's field to the hand, and then your opponent can special summon one monster from their hand in an attack position to their field. So, you might think, that doesn't do anything. You have to choose one of your opponent's monsters, and then they get to special summon it right back. Well, yes. What this card can do is it can out maximum monsters. So your opponent has a maximum monster on their field, you return the whole thing to their hand, then they can special summon one piece from their hand to the field in attack position. You could also use it to get rid of fusion monsters. You can return a fusion monster to the hand, and it goes back to the extra deck, and then your opponent can't special summon it again because it's not in their hand. So they summon something else. So Alma Bear Lilith has several unique applications. Basically, it's like a hard removal for extra deck monsters and maximum monsters, which is a good option for you to have. And if there's not a good target for it, just don't make Alma Bear Lilith. Use your fusion on something else. Okay, cool. Let's take a look at the deck replay. Okay, so we are going first against dragons. Our hand is Candy, Candy, Peace Holder, Tribute to the Doom, Star Restart, and Fusion. So, of course, we're just going to set 5 and pass. Our opponent is also going to set 3, and then they Tribute Summon for Blue Eyes White Dragon. Then they set another one, and they're going to attack Candy. Unfortunate, but, you know, I can respect the Blue Eyes. It's our turn. We draw 5. We're going to use our skill. We pitch Alma Lilith to add Scythe Pickupper from our deck to our hand. Now we can Tribute Summon for Scythe Pickupper and use its effect. We gain 800 life points. Then we're going to return a card from our hand to the deck to play Star Restart, revive Candy, and flip over Fusion. Now we can summon our Candy live. Candy Live's effect, we take 2,000. We nuke Blue Eyes' attack points down to 0. Then we'll beat over 2 of his monsters, and it's his turn. Opponent's going to use Dragiastar Nova, so they get to add Fusion from their deck to their hand. Then they'll set 4 and pass. It's our turn. We're going to use Tribute to the Doomed. Then we normal summon Candy, and we'll Jamp Check. We're going to get rid of that Trap Hole. We gain 1,000. Then we Tribute Summon it for Prima Gitarna. We use Candy Live to gain 1,000 life points. Then we beat over both of our opponent's monsters, and they concede. So there you go. So even though we paid 2,000 life points to use Candy Live's effect, we ended up with 6,800 life points, and we also beat over a very powerful level 8 with no issues. We had spell and trap removal for days, and we had a lot of different ways to use our skill. Just ends up being an overall solid strategy and deck. My name is Serafi, and I was thrilled to have all of you with me.